I'd like to welcome everybody to our Tuesday Lunch and Learn once again, and very excited that this class is continuing, and that if people are missing to watch it live, that it is available on the WhatsApp and it's available on the Emmett YouTube channel and on different places on YouTube. I'm very pleased to see that people are coming in and engaging in the conversation. So in any case, Tuesdays, we ask everybody to try to keep Tuesday as their set day, 12 o'clock, and make that the time to learn together. And that's how I'm already feeling about this class. If it's Tuesday, it has to be Lunch and Learn. So with that as introduction, let's begin today's class. So we're going to look at something today and think about an idea that for me I found very, very inspiring, and something which has been particularly helpful, I think, in my own avodas Hashem. And this idea that I want to talk about today is really a question of how can we take anything in our life, anything that we're doing, and really find a way to make it not just meaningful, but to say, what's the heroism, in this action? How can I take what I'm doing and really be heroic with it? Really say this is something substantial, and what I'm doing is meaningful. It's the most important thing that I'm doing. It's exactly what I should be doing, and therefore to take, again, as we'll give some examples as we go forward, every area of our life, and say what can I do to make this the most meaningful, most heroic expression of what I'm trying to accomplish. So in order to do this, we're going to look at a particular concept in the Torah. And the concept is really built around a word. And the word that we're after is a word called Attain. Chetnon. And I think maybe we know that word, or we've seen that word before. We have the expression in modern Hebrew, that find favor in your eyes. Chetnon. Question is, what is Attain, and what does it look like? What does that mean? Sometimes it's translated, and if you look at the translation liturgy, the first one they translated the Torah into Greek, it was called the Septuagint, the Targum Shibim. The word Attain was actually translated as the Greek word charisma, which in English means charisma. So this word Attain really has a lot to do with what charisma is all about. So I'm sure charisma is something that we're all striving for. We all want to be charismatic people, and we want to live charismatic lives, and we want to have that charisma whereby we're successful in what we do. Torah says the word for that is Attain. Now, the difference from the Torah perspective to the perspective perhaps that the Greeks had, and is that there's nothing to do with the word grace. Sometimes people use the word grace as if this is something which you just get. That's not the Torah vision at all. The Torah vision is Attain, is something which you work for and which you try to achieve. And we'll look at now, how do we achieve that? How do we get there? Where does this idea live? What is Attain all about? Because again, it's not something which you just get. It's not just a person born with Attain, born with charisma. It's a function of the work that we do. And when we do that work, all of a sudden something happens where people notice us, God notices us, and we notice ourselves. And let's take a look at what that means, how that comes out. So in order to do that, we take a look at the piece of Gemara, piece of Talmud. And the Talmud can be found in Eruvin, Daf Yudal on the base, which is 44 on the base. And it explains the verse. And the verse says as follows: it says, Ayeles Ohavim B'Yalas Chaim, describing the Torah. The Torah is called Ayeles Ohavim B'Yalas Chaim. It's a verse from Mishlei, from Proverbs, verse from King Solomon, actually verse 5. chapter 5, verse 19, the Torah is described as Ayeles Ohavim, a beloved deer, a beloved gazelle, V'ya'alas chen, and something which brings up chen onto a person. Let's analyze that word. Let's think about that for a moment. Why is the Torah, or the study of Torah, compared to in Ayeles Ohavim, a beloved gazelle or a deer? The Vilna Gaon explains that the reason why is because what do we love so much about a gazelle or a deer? The more we love about it is the speed of the motion, the movement. That they can go from one place to another so quickly. And there's something so graceful and so beautiful about that speed.
If you ever watched it or witnessed it, especially in Israel, sometimes you see them in the hills and the mountains, that this quick movement. So Torah is described as Ayeles Ohavim. It's quick. In other words, the ideas and the wisdom in Torah can help a person move very quickly and grow very quickly. You know, sometimes we can be very bothered by something, but when we get the idea behind it, and we get the deeper vision behind it, all of a sudden it begins to make sense. And all of a sudden we're able to start to get a perspective in life and to say, I can deal with that. I can do that. You know, I understand that there's something more than my eye can see, that, you know, I can deal with the situation. I put in proper perspective. There's a deeper vision going on. So we can move ourselves very quickly through the study of Torah, faster than if we just try to change ourselves in another way. So on one hand, the Torah is called Ayeles Ohavim. It's like a fast gazelle. It moves. It can move you very quickly. But the second part of the statement says, V'ya'alas chen. V'ya'alas chen means that it brings chen. Again, this word chen, on those who study it. I'll just quote Rashi. Rashi explains on that verse. And Rashi says, what does it mean? V'ya'alas chen. It brings v'ya'alas chen, it brings this charm or chen or charisma, whatever we're going to call it. We'll try to translate it in a moment. Alodeha, on those who study it. And Rashi says, she'akol min nasin oso. Everybody wants to raise that person up. V'toraso no senes lo chen. Because he's engaged in the study of Torah, he gets something called chen. Let's call it charm, grace, charisma. He gets it. How does he get it? Because he does the work, or she does the work of learning it. And Rashi tells us everyone wants to raise them up. What does it mean everyone? It means anyone that comes in contact with the person, looks at that person and says that, wow, there's something different about you. There's something special about you. There's something unique. I'm noticing something about you. People raise you up. It says that Hashem raises you up. Hashem looks at you differently. And Hashem says, wow, there's something special about this person. In fact, there's something very special about this person. Hashem says, I'm going to accept your tefillos. I'm going to accept your prayers better because you've acquired this chen. And of course, we love ourselves much, much deeper when we do it. So let's see if we could work a little bit in this idea of understanding what is chen. What is this magic that happens that people just want to listen to us and want to be with us and are impressed by us? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem is so impressed with us, and we're impressed with ourselves. Let's see if we could just touch the vision of it, and I think if we can, it's a very practical lesson in terms of really how to sanctify every moment of our life and how to make our lives meaningful. So let's talk about the word for a moment now. Let's talk about the word chen. So the word chen is the following word. It's chen, which is a chet nun. A chet nun. Chet nun, chen. Let's take a look at these two letters for a moment, a chet and a nun, and see if we can understand it. And really what I'm going to say right now is actually comes from a little bit, it's actually from a Zohar. We could find it in the first Maimrot of Rav Nachman. So chen, let's think about that word for a moment. You know, when we talk about the letter chet, the letter chet, numerically, chet is Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet. It's 8. 8 is always the letter that is something which goes above the natural world. In fact, it's interesting, the letter Chet is a very difficult letter to pronounce. Chet. It lives very deep inside the throat and the garon. It's very difficult to come out, not just for Americans. It's difficult to come out for everybody. It's very hard to produce, and it's supposed to be that way. Why? Because it's a letter that apparently takes us above the natural world. Numerically, it's 8. We think about 8s in Judaism. Number 8, we know that the Chanukah, there's a miracle happens when something goes for 8 days. We know that Brit Milah is on the 8th day, that there's something above nature about Brit Milah. It's natural to have desires and passion. Brit Milah says we want to control.
Hmm? From 8 days since we got Mitzrayim. Kriyas
Yamsuf, oh, thank you very much. Kriyas Yamsuf was 8 days after we came out of Mitzrayim. 8 for us is that number of going above nature. You know, it says that the world lives in a cycle of 7s. If we think about it, 7 is always the natural world. We know that we have 7 colors in a rainbow, for example. Red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, green, and violet. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. We know that there's 7 notes in a musical scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And when you get to the 8th, you're repeating. In fact, 7 is Sheva, which is Sheva from the word Salveya, to be complete, satisfied, completeness. That's this world. 8 takes us to the idea of Shmone. Shmone is actually the Hebrew word shomein, or shmena, which means excess. You know, in modern Hebrew we call that shmena is fat. Because what's fat? Fat's excess. It's not supposed to be there. If a person was in good shape, they wouldn't have shmena, they wouldn't be shomein. So what Shmone does is it breaks out of the natural world and takes us to a different world. That's always the vision of 8. That's the vision of a chet, the 8th number. Again, it's unnatural. It's difficult to produce. What's the vision of that? The vision is that the first aspect of achieving this quality called chen is when a person breaks out of the natural world. How did he do that? Well, by learning Torah. The Torah is a gift that God gave from above and basically really just brought it down to this world for us. So a person engages in the ideas that really take us above and out of this world. That's engaging in something which we call the chet. It's saying, I'm looking for a vision in life that's just breaking out of the normal. I'm saying, what vision can I do in anything that I'm doing right now, which connects me to something which is deeper than me, is above me? How can I get in touch with that chet, that above nature? Like in Torah, if you learn Torah, that's the ultimate expression of it. Because the study of Torah is the study of something from outside this world coming into this world. But really, every aspect of life offers an opportunity to say, how can I connect with that chet? How can I get above myself and find the way that there's the vision of Hashem for me right now? That's connecting with the chet. And there are many ways to do it. But it's interesting that the Talmud tells us, the Gemara Eruvin and Rashi points out for us, that when we do it, people look at us and say, wow, like there's something special. As if to say, it's like you're coming from another place. You know, maybe that's what charisma really is. Charisma is something where people look at you and say, like, you don't belong here. You're something different about you. There's something special about you. And there's something that's special about you. Because you're trying to plug in to an idea from above. Trying to connect to Hashem with that idea. That's a chet. That's the first letter of the word chen. To break ourselves above the vision of this world. Now it's interesting, the second letter is a nun sofit. Nun sofit is the longest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It extends way below the line, just keeps going and going and going. In fact, the word nin in Hebrew means a grandchild. And because a grandchild is something which goes out from you to another generation, it keeps going and going from you. The nun sofit, the end of nun we call it the last nun in a word, extends below the line and just keeps going and going and going. So what's the vision of Attain? The vision of Attain is to reach up high, tap into an idea which is above this world, tap into an aspect of the Torah, ask oneself the question, what can I do to bring Hashem into the world in exactly what I'm doing right now, and then extend it as long as below the line, bring it down to the world as far as it can go. That's Attain. So Attain isn't a gift. Attain isn't something we're born with. Attain is the active process that in every situation we're in life, to say, how can I find a way to bring this activity, feeling, emotion, idea, conversation, whatever it might be, how can I say, what is God's desire for me right here? And let me bring it down, and bring it down to the nun, and bring it down as deep as I can go. And the Talmud tells us, that's when all of a sudden something happens. There's Attain in the person. People look and say, wow, like I want to talk to you. And Hashem says, yeah, I'm impressed with you. And you look at yourself and you say, I'm impressed with myself. Because we really just took that moment and we sanctified it. We reached up high, we tapped into an idea, and we brought it low. We brought it low. We brought it as deep as we can go. I'll just give you just a practical example of what I mean, and I think it's just a little bit of kind of just sort of funny example. In that one time it was it was raining, and I got a call from one of our staff members, and who said that Rabbi, who said that her car needed a jump, and it was pouring rain, and she said, Rabbi Kraft, could you come out? Do you have cables? And I said, yeah, cables. And she said, and she said, oh, maybe I should call Chaverim. Chaverim is an organization, a very wonderful organization that guys go out and they help you with jumping your car, and if you run out of gas, or opening your locked door, and just terrific, amazing guys who do that, and obviously don't take any money for it. She said, maybe I should call Chaverim. And I remember thinking to myself right there, I said to myself, why should you call Chaverim? Why should another guy go out there and get wet? I'll go out there and get wet. I don't like getting wet. But I thought to myself that I'd rather I get wet than someone else get wet. I'm going to go do it. So I went out there in the pouring rain. I don't think I even had a raincoat. And I went out there, and I took my cables, I jumped her car. And apparently, she thought it was interesting, and she started FaceTiming it onto Facebook. And I remember getting a lot of comments on it. People are so impressed. And I was thinking to myself, what caused the impression? It's not a big deal to jump a car. It's not a big deal to go out in rain to jump a car either. People do it all the time. I think in my own mind, what I felt so good about, and maybe was impressive about it, was that I really said, where's the chet here? How can I reach above myself and say, what does a Kadosh Baruch Hu want from me right now? And the conclusion I came up with is, I need to get wet. No one else is getting wet. I'm getting wet. And when we go out with the proper feeling and the proper sensitivity and saying, what is the divine will right now? Now we're in Hashem's world. We've broken out of our world and we're in the world of the Cha, the world of that world that goes beyond nature, that world called Chet. And we bring it down to the most mundane area of life, cables, batteries, cars. People start saying, wow, that's something. Because that's Chaim. That maybe be a little bit of an example of where of a practical way the meat of Chaim comes into the world. But it could be in any situation. A conversation. How do we listen to each other? We're involved in a conversation. Someone needs to talk to you. Talk to us. Do we stop and say, this person in front of us is the most important person in the room right now? And we put our cell phones down, and we turn them off, and we tell the person, look, I'm here to listen to you. And all of a sudden, the feeling that's generated and the love that really exists in that situation is just so elevated, and Chaim is exhibited. One feels good in one's own self of the conversation. The other person feels so good about what that conversation was. Of course, Kodesh Baruch Hu looks down and loves it as well. Because we reached up high and said, how can I go above what's natural here? It's natural to be thinking about other things. It's natural to let the mind run. It's natural to be distracted. But to say, no, I'm going to choose to let you be the most important person at this moment. That's a chet. And bring it down to the conversation. That's the nun, all the way down. So that's chen a little bit. In the Torah, the person that exemplified this quality more than anybody else was Yosef Tzaddik. Yosef, if we look at Yosef's midah, in fact, is chen. We say that Avraham is about chesed, kindness. Yitzchak was about strict justice, din. Yaakov was truth, emet, or tiferet. The midah, the personality quality associated with Yosef, we're told is chen. And you think about Yosef's life, everything that Yosef did, wherever he went, he was able to just make that moment extraordinary. We know that, for example, he gets sold down to Mitzrayim. Next thing you know, he's being lifted up and he's the head of the house of Potiphar. He's in the house of Potiphar, and all of a sudden, the wife of Potiphar notices him. He's sent to prison. And in the prison, all of a sudden, he starts ruling over the prison. He starts being uplifted. People look at him and say to him, wow, there's something really special about you. Wherever he goes, people just notice him. Now, it's not because he's born with natural charisma. That's not what it is. It means that in every situation in life, he's trying to say, what can I do here to make this situation extraordinary? What's my job right now? For example, when Yosef was in prison, so it says that he saw the Saramashkim, Sarofa, the butler and the baker, and the reason they asked them to interpret his dream is he went over to them and he looked at them and he said, you seem to be despondent, you look depressed, you look down. Is something wrong? And then they said about the dreams, and he started interpreting the dreams. Now, where Yosef is really praised is the fact that even though he's in prison, even though he himself is incarcerated unjustly and has been languishing in prison for 10 years for something he didn't do, he's able to say, how can I look at someone else and ask them what's wrong? That he had that sensitivity to notice means he wasn't just invested and involved in himself. He was looking to see where can I do chesed? Where can I do kindness with someone? And by doing so, he went over and he was able to interpret the dreams. And that, of course, people looked at him like, wow, who is this person? And he comes to the attention of whom? Of Paro, who he interprets Paro's dream. The Paro says, is there anybody like you in the world? He raises him up to be the second in command, the viceroy. But Yosef's chen, wherever he went, people lifted him up. They noticed him. They were aware of him. Of course, the brothers, he was also, even as a youth, he was already had a deep vision for what life needs to be about. And he had dreams. He didn't present those dreams properly, which is really a topic for another discussion. But he was always living a life of there's a vision above myself here. The brothers thought it was against them, but there's a vision beyond me. And I think that example in prison is something which really speaks to it. That he had the peace of mind and the ability to say, what can I do to do chesed here? How can I be out of myself? How can I be other-centered, even here? And he starts ruling over the prison. They put him in charge of the prison. That's chen. There's something where people say, you're coming from a different place. You're coming from a place where you're reaching up high, you're looking for that chet, what's the sensitivity I should have right now, and you bring it down to the nun. That was the midah of Yosef Tzaddik, and that's why his midah is chen. It's specifically called chen. Now, I'm particularly inspired by this vision because it's a way of thinking. In every place, every discussion, every conversation, everything we do in the course of our day, which may appear to be mundane to some extent, what can we do to reach up high, to grab onto that chet? How can I do it? And how can I bring it down into what I'm doing right now? if we can do that, all of a sudden, every moment becomes an opportunity. Every moment becomes an opportunity, indeed to be almost heroic. Like, I'm going to do what's the best possible way of doing this right now, whatever I'm doing. Conversation, the sensitivity, the reaction, the feeling, the words I'm going to choose. Every moment becomes a opportunity of sanctifying God's name, being heroic. And we get that, and the result of that is we love ourselves, Kodesh Baruch Hu loves us, and people look at us and say, wow, like, you are coming from a different place. And that's a side benefit. We don't do it for that purpose, but that is what charisma really is. That is charisma. And that's why the Greeks, when they translated the word chain, they said charisma. Not like we think about it in America, like you're just born with it. You're not born with it. The Torah's perspective is you reach up high, and you bring it down. I'd like to just to show you right now really how deep this vision goes. And I'm going to do it by demonstrating something a little bit with the letters and a little bit through the Zohar and the Ari. And I'd like to thank Rabbi Gershenfeld for bringing this idea to my attention. Let's take a look at this idea a little bit from the perspective of the Aleph Beit. And those who have watched our lectures online about the Aleph Beit, I think will appreciate this very much. When we have this discussion, we know that every letter has a numerical value. It's called gematria, which is very important. And I'm going to bring this to you right now, because the study of the Zohar is something which we study for its own sake, but something because it brings the idea down in a way that I feel makes it very real, very practical, and gives us like a little bit of a handle to see it and to appreciate its depth and to strive for it. So let's take a look and see if we could understand it. When we talk about Hashem, so we know Hashem has many names. One of his names is Yud K, Vav K. Yud K, Vav K. Now it's really Yud Hey Vav Hey, as we know, but I don't want to write the Hey, so I'm writing as a Kof, but let's just know that that's a Hey. Numerically, we know that Yud is 10 and Hey is 5, and Vav is 6 and Hey is 5, and it's 26. And that's one of the names for God, Yud Hey Vav Hey. However, there's another thing we could say about God's name. The Zohar tells us that if we want to express God into the world, how do we do that in terms of the letters? Express God into the world. What does that mean? How do I express God into the world? Well, I know as a person, the way I express something is I speak it out. So suppose we were to speak out these letters. What does that mean? Let's say Yud. Let's speak out Hey. Let's speak out Vav. Let's speak out Hey. So what it means to express it out, let's write it out. You can write out a letter, and the letter has a spelling. So I'm going to write that out. Yud is Yud, Vav, Daled. Hey is Hey, Aleph. Yud, Hey. Vav is Vav, Aleph, Vav. And Hey is Hey, Aleph. So what I did right here, if everyone could see that, and maybe I'll put this on the WhatsApp chat to get a little clearer, maybe in a nicer version, someone could study it if they like. But all I did was I wrote it out. Yud is Yud Vav Daled. Hey is spelled Hey Aleph. Vav is spelled Vav Aleph Vav. And another Hey is spelled Hey Aleph. If we do a little numerical value of that, so let's see. Yud Vav Daled is 20. Hey Aleph is 6. Vav Aleph Vav is 13. And Hey Aleph is 6. We add that together, we get 45. What's significant about 45? 45 is a numerical value of Adam. Adam. Aleph is 1, Aleph is 1, Daled is 4, Mem is 40. Adam, 45. Aleph is 1, Daled is 4, Mem is 40, 45. What's the connection? God's express name is the same numerical value as Adam, which means a human being, because the job of the Adam in this world, the job of a human being, is to express God out into this world. That's what we're trying to achieve. Our job here is to find a way to bring God down into everything that we do. Adam, Aleph 1, Dalet 4, Mem 40, 45, same numerical value as God's expressed name. Express God out into the world. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Expressing God out in the world in whatever way we can, in everything that we do. Again, whether it be in any situation or any conversation, any action, any small thing, big thing. What does God want from me here? What's God's Torah? What does God really want? What's the idea behind it? God, what's your Torah? What's your vision? What's your chet? What do you want me to bring down? Or not just do it, but what do you want me to be feeling, thinking, and then doing? That's the job of a human being. And that's a beautiful concept, I think, just in its own right. That the expressed name of God, 45, same nuvachu as Adam, the human being, because it certainly indicates about what the human being is all about, to express God in this world. But let's take it a step deeper. The reality is that we express God out in this world in three ways. We express God out in this world intellectually, with our thoughts. We express God out in the world emotionally, with our hearts, feelings. And we express God out in the world through our actions. Now, it's interesting that there are three letters, each one corresponds to these ideas. The letter Yud always corresponds to the idea of thought. Why is that? Let's think about it for a moment. Yud is the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It doesn't touch the top of the line. It doesn't touch the bottom of the line. It just hangs there like a thought. Numerically, it's 10. 10 is defined in mathematics as a thought number. 0 through 9 are natural. Once you get to 10, it's cognitive. You have to start using other numbers to form it. A 1 and a 0. If we know a little bit of Hebrew, Yud is the way to push something in the future. For example, Hu shomer, he guards. Hu yishmor, with the Yud at the beginning, says he will guard. You want to push something to a place where it doesn't live yet, the future, something which is only in thought, it gets the Yud at the beginning of the word. Yud always represents the idea of an idea, a thought. And that's the way we're very consistent throughout of all of Torah thought. And actually the best way to remember it is just a dot, that's all it is. Smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet, just hangs there. Doesn't touch the top of the line, doesn't touch the bottom of the line. Just hangs there like a thought. Thought just hangs. We have a letter for emotion. The letter for our emotion is the letter Aleph. Now, Aleph oftentimes is associated with God's name. But in this context, it's emotion. Why? Because how do we pronounce an Aleph? What's the pronunciation of an Aleph? So I'm going to pronounce this for everybody. Ready? Did you hear that out there? There is no sound. There's no pronunciation. To give a pronunciation, it needs a vowel. It needs an A, or an E, or an A, or an E, or an O. By itself, there's no pronunciation. It always represents something which is completely spiritual, something which has absolutely no way of putting anything around. And that's, of course, the letter that represents Hashem as well, and the spiritual connection is always the Aleph. But it also represents the part of the human being, which is emotion. Because emotion isn't something which you can quantify. It's not something you can measure. It's not something you can even record. It's just something which just exists without any confinement, limitation, without any boundary. That's emotion. That's the Aleph. And then we have a letter for action. Action of a human being, this third way we relate to this world, express God in this world, through ideas, through emotions. Third way we express God in this world is through action. The letter for expressing God in the world is this letter here. It's a Hey. Now it's interesting, by the way. If you look at the letter Hey, number one, you notice it's composed of a Dalet and a Yud. So Dalet always represents the physical world. It's the first letter that starts expressing itself in four directions: north, south, east, west, or a Cartesian plane, x, y axis. It means a delit, a door. You look at this world, rabbis tell us that this world is a prus door, l'olam haba. It's a corridor to the next world. This world is about a door. That's why we make such a big deal about doors in Judaism. We put a mezuzah on the doorposts everywhere we go. Doors signify what this world's all about. Movement, getting, it's entering to something else. But if you notice that the Dalet has a Yud in it, interesting. What is the physical world all about? It's expressing an idea out into the world. That's what an action is. An action means that I'm going to take my idea and I'm going to make it real in the world. That's what hey is. Expressing God into the world through action, taking my idea and bringing it out into the world. That's the same reason why in Judaism we know that a hand is called a yad. Just took those same letters, the yud to the daled. What's a hand? It takes my idea, which is up here, and it brings it out into the world as far as it can go. That's a yad. And that's what a hey is. A hey is the letter that symbolizes taking that idea and making it real. You know, in the discussion of language, hey always represents a female vision of the world, and yud always represents a male vision of the world. Meaning that the job of a man, perhaps in a prototypical way, is to reach up high above himself, like tefillin, reach above and bring an idea down as deep as it can go. The vision of a woman is to take that idea and make it real into the world. Perhaps we understand that in procreation, in the best possible way, a man provides the seed, the spark, the idea, and a woman takes that seed and then creates something very real in this world, which is, of course, the child. You know, and that's why we know that the word for man in Hebrew is a ish, and the word for a woman in Hebrew is a isha. A man is an ish, he has the yud, the idea. A woman is an isha, she has the hey, the yud expressed out of the dalet. She takes the idea and she builds on it. Of course, that's God's name. God's name is a yud and a hey together, because God's all about idea expressed to action as well. You remove the yud, you remove the hey. The Gemara itself tells us you have eish, and two eish is together is two fires, and when fire joins fire is conflagration. It's an important message on its own right about marriage, that there has to be God in the marriage in order for it to be something which is special. You take God out of the marriage, it's going to be conflagration. So very fascinating. We have three ways to express God in the world. We have a yud through ideas. What idea is the right idea here? What does God want me to be thinking now? What can I do to sanctify this moment? We have the aleph. What's the feeling I'm supposed to try to invest in this right now? And hey, what's the action I should be doing right now? What is that action? If we think like that, say, God, what do you want from me now? We're reaching above ourselves. We're getting that chet, that difficult to pronounce letter. We're reaching high, and we're going to bring it down into whatever we do. The chen, that's the nun. Bring it down. Bring it all the way down to what we're doing, like Yosef did. In every situation, what does God want from me? And whether I be in Potiphar's house, whether I be in prison, it doesn't matter. Whether I be the king of Egypt, doesn't matter. I'm reaching high and bringing down. Now, with that in mind, I just want to show something very interesting. We said above that God's expressed name was 45, same numerical value as Adam. And we wrote God's name in a certain way. We wrote out God's name in a way in which the way we spelled hey, Yud Hey Vav Hey, we spelled hey with an aleph, like this. Hey, hey. The truth of the matter is, I have to be honest with you. There are actually three ways to spell hey. How can we spell hey? We could spell hey like this with the hey aleph. We could spell hey, 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 like this. Or we could spell hey like this. Hey, yud, like this. Three ways to spell hey. Let's go back to God's expressed name, and let's write it out with all those different combinations of hey. So I'm going to write like this. I'm going to write the yud the same way. Yud, vav, daled. But my second hey, I'm going to write it as a hey, hey. I'm going to write my vav the same way. Vav, aleph, vav. But my last hey in yud, hey, vav, hey, I'm going to write it as hey, yud. Okay? So this is what I did. I wrote yud, hey, vav, hey. So what do we have there? We took away the aleph of that hey, and we got a hey. We keep our aleph here in the vav, and we put a yud over here, like this. Interesting. Now we see in God's name, when we speak out and express God's name in the world, we can express God out in the world in three ways. We get the idea of the Yud, expressing God out in the world of ideas. We see the idea of expressing God out in the world of the Aleph in emotion. And we see expressing God out in the world with a Hey of action. Three ways to express God out in the world. Now remember what we said before. When we wrote God's name just with the Aleph and the Aleph, it was 45, which corresponded, as we said, to Adam. As we mentioned before, the human being has to express God's name. But let's take a look now. If we write God's name so that one of the Heys gets a Hey, the other Hey gets the Yud, let's see the numerical value of this new word, this new spelling of God's name. Well, Yud Vav Daled is again 20. Hey Hey is Hey plus 5 is 10. Vav Aleph Vav stays the same, 13. And Hey Yud, Hey is 5, Yud is 10, that's 15. We add this together, what do we get? 30 plus 15 is 45, plus 13 is 58. Interesting. How interesting. 58 is the same numerical value of this word. Chen. Chen. Chet is 8, Nun is 50, 58. Interesting. What's Chen? Chen is finding a way to express God out into the world in every way possible. Expressing God out into the world of thought. What do I have to think right now to make it meaningful? Aleph, expressing God out in the world of emotions. What's the correct feeling? Can I muster that feeling right now? And of course, in action. What's the action that I should be doing right now to express God? When we do it, we express God out in a way that the numerical value of God's name becomes 58, which is the same numerical value of Chen. And that's what Chen is. And that's why Chen, call it charm, charisma, whatever you want to call it, is so powerful. Because when a person has reached up high to that chet and said, I'm going to find a way to bring the correct thought, feeling, emotion, action down, the person's done the hard work. And that hard work causes others to look at that person and say, you're coming from another place. Wow. And Hashem says, yeah, good job. You came from another place. And you look at yourself and you say, I did it. I came from another place. I brought down what I'm supposed to be doing right here. And we feel so good about ourselves. And that's what we call chen in Judaism. That's the midah of chen. And this is actually something from what the Ari says on top of the Zohar. The Ari itself. So it's a very holy type of thought coming from one of the greatest Kabbalists in Jewish history. But I say it because it's practical. It's practical because that's the way we want to live our lives. We want to live our lives in a way that we want to bring meaning and sanctity and invest everything we do with the best possible idea, feeling, and action. And when we do, we're overwhelmed with a sense of self-satisfaction and divine satisfaction. And the relationship with others will be so beautiful too, because people look and say, wow, I'm impressed with that. I'll lift you up, as it says in the Gemara. You know, it's interesting, and I'll end with this thought, and just because we're on it right now, and we have someone else in the Torah besides Yosef who is referred to with the word chen, and that's Noach. It says, why was Noach saved from the flood? It's because it says, Noach matza chen be'enei Hashem. Noach found chen in the eyes of God. Chen. You look at the word Noach. Noach is a nun and a chet. Noach. He found chen in the eyes of God. Now, interesting, if you spell Noach backwards, what does it spell? It spells chen. How interesting. Noach was saved from the flood because he found chen in God's eyes. What does that mean? It's a beautiful parish from the Ramad, from Moshe David Valley, a student, a Rabbi of the Ramchal. He says as follows. He said, why was Noach saved from the flood? Was it because of his great righteousness? Not so clear. Tzaddik b'dorosav, it says. He was a tzaddik in his generation. Does that mean he would have been great in Avram's generation? Maybe he would have been greater or maybe not as great. It's not so clear. But something that he did do is he found chen in the eyes of God. What does that mean? God looked at him and said, I'm looking at you and I see something great about you. Noach looked at the world, a world of corruption, a world of theft, a world of immorality. And he said, this can't be the way. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to break out of this vision. I'm going to live my life differently. I'm going to try to bring the generation with me. He wasn't successful. But he tried to break out of the vision of his generation. There has to be more. I'm going to reach up higher. Oh, you're not going to be Nach. You're not going to be Noach. Noach means you're going to be rest. You're not just going to be restful. You're not just going to go with the flow. You're not just going to follow the societal values. You're going to break out of it and above it. Oh, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, the way I look at you is I see chen. I turn it around. I'm giving you chen. I see chen in you. Because you did the hard work of breaking out of what was normal. And that's why I have such love for you, and that's why you are deserving of being saved. Because you got chen. Chen is really the perspective that we have, and others have, and God has, when we break out of what's natural and normal in this world. God looks at us and says, I give you chen. I listen to you more. I love you more. God loves us always. He loves you more. People look at us and say, wow, I really get you. I want to learn from you. I want to be with you. And we look at, maybe even most importantly, we look at ourselves and we say, wow, I'm really proud of myself. That's the vision of chen. And I think it's a beautiful vision. And I think it's something we can strive for, and I think it's very real. I think it's the way to live our lives meaningfully. And by doing so, God willing, we'll be able to achieve the three blessings that come. God's love, love for others, and love of ourselves. I invite everybody to, if you have questions on this, you're welcome to WhatsApp me or to send me an email or a text message, and I'd be happy to respond to it to the group on the chat as well if you have any questions on what we've said today. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we look forward to continuing Lunch and Learn on Tuesdays.